Charlie Kaufman is, in my opinion, one of the greatest screenwriters in film. Maybe the greatest when it comes to complexity and originality. His work stands out for how deeply personal, strange and thought-provoking it is. A Kaufman film always leaves something behind. I'm a big fan of Charlie K, so in this video I'll be ranking his films. While he's written all 9 of these films, he's only directed 3 of them. However, his voice as a writer is so distinctive, so deeply embedded in each story, that his creative presence is undeniable. So this ranking is based not only on direction, but on Kaufman as a filmmaker. Anyways, Human Nature is the film most commonly seen as Kaufman's weakest. Putting at the bottom of this list isn't doing it any favours, but truthfully I did enjoy it. I'd even say it's a decent film. The premise is bizarre in a very Kaufman-esque way. It follows a woman covered in body hair who falls in love with a scientist attempting to civilize a man raised in the wild. It's quirky, easy to watch and has its funny moments. It's fine. But that's exactly why it's ranked last. Human Nature doesn't particularly excel in any one area. It's not the funniest, not the most visually striking, and it doesn't leave me wrestling with existential dread like the others. The themes are there, but it's not Kaufman's most mind-bending or emotionally resonant. It's not a bad movie by any means, just not one that would linger in the back of my mind. Orion and The Dark is a bit of an outlier in Kaufman's filmography. It's a children's movie, so naturally it doesn't dive into the same complex or existential territory as his other works. Instead, we get a simple and sweet story about a young boy learning to overcome his fear of the dark by going on an adventure with the dark. As a kid's film, it works well. It hits all the right notes, and it even got a genuine laugh or two out of me. The personified character of the dark is a clever way to explore fear, turning it into something more approachable, even comforting. To appreciate the good, we need to understand what we see as the bad. A valuable lesson, especially for younger audiences. It's a nice little story with a thoughtful message, all wrapped up into a charming, digestible package. Orion and The Dark is good, and that's really all there is to it. The film follows Michael Stone, a man weighed down by depression and the crushing monotony of his life. What Anomalisa does really well is capture the emotional texture of depression. There's a steady, low-key sadness that runs through the entire film, almost like emotional white noise. Because of this tone, you really emphasize with Michael, his detachment, his lack of enthusiasm, his inability to feel anything, but that same quality also makes the film feel kinda boring at times. That said, it all builds towards one standout moment. It's very well done and perfectly captures the feeling of fleeting love, how something can feel meaningful one moment and suddenly vanish the next. The animation is also really good, the dialogue is strong, and the third act is well executed. Would I watch it again? Probably not, but I respect what it's doing. I'm Thinking of Ending Things is a film I initially hated. When I first watched it, I hadn't really developed my taste in films yet, and honestly, I just saw it as pretentious film bullshit. But rewatching it for this video, now with a better understanding of Kaufman's writing and a clearer sense of what the film is actually exploring, I've come to appreciate how well crafted it is. Directed by the man himself, you can feel how meticulous he is with every scene. Nothing is accidental, every shot, line and cut is intentional, coming together to form a layered visual exploration of regret, isolation and unrealized potential. The film leans heavily into dream logic, which gives Kaufman the freedom to create what I'd call visual poetry. It's abstract, surreal and emotionally heavy. The downside though is that because it's wrapped up in that surreal style of storytelling, I struggled to connect with any of the characters on a personal level. I didn't really care about them, not because they weren't interesting, but because they felt more symbolic than human. I can appreciate how well made and deliberate it is, it's just not my favourite. A while back I wrote a script called TV Man. It was about a famous TV presenter who also murdered people. He had one woman who loved a version the public saw and another one who loved his darker side. The whole idea was about how we only get to see one part of a person, never the whole. Well, that's pretty much exactly the plot of this movie. On one hand, it's kind of cool to know an idea of mine had some legs, and on the other hand, my script is now basically an accidental rip-off. Still, I really enjoyed this film. Maybe there's a little bias there, but I found it genuinely entertaining. Sure, it gets a bit silly in places, and the final stretch drags slightly, but overall it's a fun watch. Rockwell is fantastic, super engaging, and I really liked his dynamic with Drew Barrymore's character, Penny. Their relationship added a nice emotional thread to all the chaos. Unlike a lot of other Kaufman related films that leave me thinking, Confessions of a Dangerous Mind actually has a satisfying arc and a solid ending. I finished it and I thought, nice, good movie, and honestly sometimes that's good too. Being John Malkovich was a turning point for me. It genuinely changed how I view films. Before this, all I really wanted from a movie was guns and violence. Then I saw Malkovich and suddenly I understood how film could lean into deep philosophical ideas instead of needing to have action all the time. There are a lot of people out there who fantasize about being someone else, even if it meant completely erasing their own existence. And this film takes that concept and shows how tragic and terrifying it really is. It's funny, surreal, and deeply unsettling in all the right ways. The script is incredible. The world Kaufman created creates here is bizarre but oddly coherent, with little touches like the 7.5 floor that don't necessarily need to be in the movie but add so much charm and weirdness to the film's tone. Every character feels distinct and well written, especially the dynamic between John Cusack and Catherine Keener, a relationship from a film that was unlike anything I had seen at the time. And of course, John Malkovich himself is a blast to watch. He leads into the absurdity of it all without ever making it feel like a joke, and Spike Jonze does a great job as director to complement Kaufman's writing perfectly. Honestly, I struggle to find anything wrong with this movie, and if you haven't seen it, you should. I love Adaptation. For something like this to even exist, it takes a maverick renegade to make it happen. The backstory is that Kaufman was originally hired to adapt The Orchid Thief, but quickly realised it couldn't be turned to a traditional narrative. So instead he wrote about his own struggle to adapt the book. It's meta, absurd, and somehow genius. In a way, he did adapt the book. Parts of it are woven throughout the film, which cleverly tie into the main story. It's a film within a film within a film. And Nicolas Cage plays both Charlie and his fictional twin brother Donald, and he's fantastic in both roles. The fact that the script is credited to Charlie and Donald Kaufman, and that Donald appears in the actual end credits, gets the film some nice bonus points. The title Adaptation isn't just about adapting a book into a film, it's also about personal change. At its core, the film is about a man learning to adapt as a human being, to let go of his insecurities and obsessions that hold him back. It flows beautifully, and while some people consider this one of Kaufman's more simple, accessible films, I don't see it that way at all. It's layered, thought-provoking, and incredibly smart, and it also happens to feature one of my all-time favourite movie scenes. Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind was so close to taking the top spot. It takes that classic idea of it's better to have loved and lost, to have never loved at all, and explores it in such a raw, emotional, and imaginative way. Most of us at one point or another have wished we could just erase someone from our memory to avoid the pain, and that film takes that thought and fully unpacks it. The heartbreak, the regret, the lingering love that we try so hard to forget. What makes Eternal Sunshine stand out is how deeply relatable it is. It's about a breakup, the emotional mess of it, the way we fixate on the final moments and forget what made us fall in love in the first place. It's simple but painfully human. Jim Carrey takes a step away from comedy and proves just how good he can be in a more grounded emotional role. His chemistry with Kate Winslet is incredibly believable, and the dynamic feels real. There's love, but it's messy and imperfect. The way that the film actually visualizes the memory erasing process results in these dreamlike sequences that are among the most visually stunning I've seen. That library shot in particular is incredible. Michel Gondry does a great job as director. And for the script, the way Kaufman structures the story is masterful. The pacing, the slow unraveling of information, the emotional beats is also well thought out. It's bittersweet, heartbreaking, and weirdly hopeful all at once. This is a film that really connects with me on a personal level, and I love Eternal Sunshine for that. Synecdoche, New York is one of those films people either consider a masterpiece or find completely unwatchable. Clearly, I'm not in the latter group. In my opinion, it's fitting that Kaufman's best work is something that he also directed himself. What makes one film better than another is completely subjective. We all bring different things to the table, but when a film literally alters the way I view life, how can I not take it to the top spot? On the surface, it's about a man building a full-scale replica of New York inside a warehouse. But that's just the entry point. What it's really about is life, death, love, loss, time, identity, our own mortality. It asks us what it means to exist, to be a human, to create, to be remembered. If I had to point to a film that fully embodies what cinema can be, it would be Synecdoche, New York. It's a story that couldn't be told through any other medium. Forgive me for sounding pretentious, but this isn't just a film. It's an experience that you have to go through yourself. Hundreds of scenes packed into just over 2 hours, so much layered meaning that you could rewatch it over and over and still find something new each time. Every line matters, every detail adds to something. Yes, it uses dream logic, but it does so in a way that feels grounded within a world Kaufman has built. It leans into the strengths of cinema, the freedom to bend time and space, to create something visually and emotionally unique. The imagery is unforgettable. Philip Hoffman, who appears in every scene except one, delivers what I'd argue is a career-defining performance. I genuinely can't imagine this film working with anyone else at the centre, and the soundtrack, composed by John Bryan, perfectly complements the film's tone. Synecdoche, New York doesn't try to please its audience. It stays true to itself, and that's what makes it so powerful. It's unapologetically ambitious, deeply personal, and to me, a truly magnificent piece of cinema. Your ranking's going to be different, and I implore you to leave your own rankings down below in the comments. Hope you enjoyed, and here is another video to click. So just click that, click it, click it.